Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS European Challenger. We are moving into our final match for our European group. My name is Fear Dragon, and I am joined by this handsome devil on my left.
You almost got the name right.
What?
Season 2.
It is Season 2.
You didn't say it. Season 2. Now they're confused, and now they don't know.
Now I'm going to get a talking to afterwards.
You getting a talking to right now?
All right. Well, how you doing, Jeff? You ready for this final series?
Man, I am jacked. The series today have
been
really good. They've been so close. But this last one, Namshar, HeroMarine, that's where the gold, that's where the real payoff is, I think.
Yeah, I think this is actually going to be a potentially close series. Now, so I'm a big believer in Namshar. I know that he has not quite been able to perform as high as a level as many other people, like even HeroMarine or something. HeroMarine is a very, very strong
selling me on this.
Look,
I'm a believer. I know he hasn't done anything, but...
So the thing about Namshar is that I do think that he has a bit of a more unique playstyle. He plays a little bit differently than a lot of the other European Zerg players, and sometimes that's to his detriment. Absolutely. But when he's able to get into his kind of groove, I think that he ends up showing some pretty good StarCraft. So I believe he's absolutely the underdog, though. I will agree with you.
You are like the very fair car salesman. You're like, I believe in him. He doesn't have the results, but when he plays well, he can be pretty good. Pretty good. No, I mean, he qualified for this. He deserves to be here. He's at every European tournament, of course. I just think... right now, we have some fairly polarizing figures in really the European scene, but the European scene's always kind of led the way for non-Koreans. So at Austin, we saw a lackluster result from everybody outside of Europe, I would say. I think Special went down hard, Need went down hard, Scarlet kind of faded out. So we're hoping for a reinvigoration. We're hoping for better performances. But here in this European scene, we're also looking for new faces. So if Namshar can make a deeper run, he's not a new face, but perhaps a better result for him, that'd be great. Or do we see HeroMarine once again go to the playoffs and again solidify that this is the year of the emergence of HeroMarine? We've seen him for years, but making it to the playoffs, going deep in an event like WCS Austin, that's the kind of stuff that you start to believe this guy could be one of the top players.
All right, and we can see that of the games that we've had so far, we have seen already that Namshar face-off versus Serral. That's obviously a very tough route, so he ends up losing that 0-2. But also HeroMarine managing to beat Stefano, and so does Namshar, both 2-0. In fact, we've had only 2-0s today.
Yeah, it's all 2-0s.
Yeah. But, I'm still looking forward to seeing how this is going to go, because HeroMarine, he did show some glimmers of maybe... I would say like weaknesses here and there. It's not massive weaknesses, but
you're like the most reasonable guy I've ever sat next to here.
You know the
glimmers of you said glimmers of good and bad. I'm like, man, you are.
What can I say?
We're in the middle of mediocre lake right now, and Fear Dragon is your guide. Just like. There's some good and there's some bad.
The problem is I'm trying to vote with my heart a lot of the time. Yeah. That's the thing. You see all those polls where it's like, okay, who do you think is going to win this? ! Serral or ! X Kawaii. And I'm like, I think X Kawaii showed some good games. I don't think he's got a great shot, but maybe he can take a couple of drone kills here.
Maybe.
Yeah. But all right. I'm looking to see how things are going to go in game number 1. Dreamcatcher, do you have any kind of original or initial thoughts on things?
Original thoughts? No. Everything from me is just regurgitated StarCraft analysis that we've already had.
I mean, you also have some pretty good regurgitated memes as well.
That's true. I am the regurgitator, as they say. Is
that the nickname you want to stick with? The regurgitator?
Yeah. I think that's a good one. There's worse that could be. You could be the regurgitee. Right? You could be the person that receives the regurgitation.
Wait. People receive what?
Yeah. You ever seen how birds eat, man? Like when their moms chew up stuff and they feed it to their little ducklings and stuff?
Okay, wait.
There you go. Okay. That's my one barf joke
needed to see that. Dreamcatcher for game number 1, ladies and gentlemen. Namshar versus HeroMarine. Namshar also known for a lot of very roach-heavy play in pretty much all of his matchups. I think he's started to deviate a little bit more from that. But it is going to be a bit of a change-up from what I would say we've been seeing so far in pretty much a pure Ling Bling Hydra style that we've been seeing.
Are we waiting on me?
I don't know. Our wonderful admin, Oli Moly, is saying that we're starting the game, though.
Do it, please. Yeah.
All right.
My computer's not in, but I can commentate off of the many a screen around.
Well, you're such a great observer that you don't even when you have the computer. I noticed that you don't actually touch you don't touch the mouse or keyboard
No,
either.
I don't.
Yeah.
I've crunched the numbers. These games are a formality. Like, I already know what's going to happen.
There you go. All right. Dream Captured is game number 1. Remember, the winner of this is going to move on to the playoffs as the second seed from Group A, and the loser will be knocked out of WCS Challenger entirely. We're going to be starting down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, atop of the blue Zerg player. Bit of an underdog coming into this series. It is Namshar. And his opponent spawning down here in the bottom right-hand side of the map. We have our red Terran player from Mouse Esports. It is HeroMarine.
And we shall see where this goes. You say Namshar's a little bit of a different player. I hate to do this, but I'm going to drag us right back to the middle. I don't disagree necessarily, but when you talk about different players, we're talking more, in my opinion, about the North American group that's coming up, where we've got some real wild child.
Oh,
in there. We got
yes.
some pretty
It's
crazy
a matter of
all-inners.
scale, right?
Yeah, so like Namshar's the European different guy. It's like, well, sometimes you're gonna see a couple of more roaches than expected, and that's as like weird as he gets, which is not that weird.
Yeah. It's not no regret levels of, well, he's just going to all-in you for 12 minutes. And if
For
you
as
don't
long as you
suspect,
let him.
Yeah, if you don't suspect the 6th all-in,
Yeah.
then you'll lose there. But yeah, Namshar is far more along the standard route. Don't want to paint him as like being super unorthodox,
No.
but I do think that like dealing with the, I guess, the Roach Hydra style is a little bit different than just dealing with the Ling Bling Muta. It requires
Sure.
a different skill set, especially if you're just going for a lot of that bio.
Ling Bling Muta is now the weird style, though, my man, Mr. Fear Dragon.
That is true. It's a Ling Bling Hydra mostly.
That's true. But HeroMarine, we did not see any mech from him just yet. And one of the caster things we have to point out, HeroMarine did just lose 0-2 to Serral, but especially that second game was a much longer, nice fight, good draw out, a very good warm-up for Mr. Namshar here, who's coming off of a hot ZVZ where he kind of was just in the driver's seat for the entirety of both those games. So that is my ZVT analysis for now. Mr.
All right.
Dragon, back over to you.
All right. Well, we do have a pretty standard looking setup over here. We got factory plopping on down next to the reactor on the bear. So we're probably going to be seeing that good old Hellion opening that HeroMarine has gone for. This was also the same map that HeroMarine played, I think, versus Serral on. Maybe it was Stefano, where he ends up running. I think it was actually versus... It was versus Stefano, where he runs the Hellions all in, ends up losing them, and doesn't get quite as much damage, so...
You are correct. And that was interesting, too, because it did a really good job getting map control. So it's not like it did nothing, but when it finally dove, that almost did do nothing as a kill. It was like 3 or 4 drones with 9 Hellions or something crazy like that. Namshar so far, just taking that third hatch. Speed, very, very standard opening for him. And like we said, from HeroMarine, you should expect to see kind of 1 of 2 openings. We haven't seen a whole lot of diversity out of him yet. And in these best of 3s at this stage of the tournament, you really shouldn't. You should not be taking wild and crazy chances, because as good as HeroMarine is, he trips up a couple times here against Namshar, and he's out of WCS Season 2. That is such a severe turnaround. It's a brutal format, really.
Yeah, especially when you have someone like Serral in your group, you kind of just lose your second chances, your opportunities to mess up here and there that a lot of the other groups you might say, like, you know, I think I can beat anyone in this group. I think I might lose to some people in this group. It's like, no, actually, if you can't beat Serral, then you get 1 chance, 1 opportunity, and if you mess it up, you're done.
Yeah. And so far, we have not seen Serral get beaten. That's going to be the storyline until that happens. There is a Raven coming out here from that starport, and here's the beginnings of that poke and prod. It's nice when it's the Reaper that tanks that damage. In fact, that's mostly why it's there. It's not, the grenade is nice, of course, as well, but it just heals, so it just backs up, and no damage really taken.
And the Raven is going to be the same kind of opening that we saw from HeroMarine versus Serral. Well, although versus Serral, his creep spread was so active and so good that even after, I think, 25 creep tumors get picked off, there's still creep at HeroMarine's front door maybe a minute or so later. So I'm not sure that Namshar, I would credit him as having as good of a creep spread as Serral, but it is still going to be very important in helping to deal with something like this.
Yeah, and it's a good just cookie cutter opener too, right? Because behind this, do we know, if you're the Zerg player, do you know there's an armory behind it? Do you know if there's 8 Marines coming to drop in behind that armory? And all of a sudden, this map control looking build becomes a very deadly timing attack. So it puts the Zerg on awareness, and little mistakes like this can all of a sudden cost them. Lings come out to try and do something, but against that many Hellions, there's not much they can do. In fact, I'd almost like them just to counterattack. But again, he doesn't know, right? Because if those turn into anything else, essentially, anything comes up behind it, then those Lings need to be back at home. So it's kind of nice. It's the meta game you got to think about here.
Yeah, Namshar hasn't, as you said, really seen what's happening behind all of this. And there has been a second Raven produced, but he has the Spore Crawlers already down, getting ready for Liberators or Banshees or anything else that could be coming his way. But as none of them really come, he starts to realize, okay, I got to get up my Lair Tech, I got to get up my Evo Chambers finally. But all these things are going to be coming out maybe a little later. Oh, the Queen's taking a bit of damage here, and Hellions are just getting a surprising amount of done, and not really a lot of them going down or even taking that much damage.
Well, Rovi, I'm going to drag us back into mediocrity. There's the first Queen to die. He's doing damage to the Queens, but if you don't kill any, it doesn't really do much. So there's the Link kind of circling around.
Auto turret harassment also just pushing these Queens further back, and another Queens gets roasted. The Reaper finally goes down at the end of the day. But these Queens are so low on hit points. If Namshar can keep them alive a little bit longer, nope, they both get focus fired down there. And oh my god, just the poking and prodding of Hellions and Ravens are actually starting to pick Namshar apart right now.
Yep, here's that payoff. Without the Queens, now these Hellions can actually fight the Lings that have to desperately come in and try and do something. They do die. Actually, it's a drone that kills one of them.
Oh.
Whoa, he brought it back a little bit too soon, but is able to get some Lings in there. And because of the poking and prodding did cost them some health points, they do end up dying, but they got, what was it, 5 Queens? Definitely worth it.
5 Queens, 36 Lings, 6 drones in exchange for just 7 Hellions, a Reaper, and also a lot of Cruiser deny on the right-hand side, but Ling's going to catch some of these Marines. They do find the reinforcements and won't be able to do too much to deny the third.
Very aggressive Baneling attempt there. I like that. If he abandons the third and everything, I guess you can get that down, but he canceled it. Fourth base in the background is going down for our Zerg player, but part of the cost of what we just saw happening is that this fourth base is a little bit late. We're not talking months late or something like that, but a little bit less than comfortable.
Yep.
Tech-wise, just a Hydra Den coming up, which is kind of normal, actually. You see that coming out later, like the lair will finish. It's not immediately a Hydra Den type of thing. It's just somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah, Namshar is going to be going to that Ling Bling Hydra style we were talking about is more the standard as opposed to the Roach composition that I think he's sometimes known for going for, but the Lings make their way in right before the last depot is about to plop down on that wall in, and Ling's not getting too much damage done, but they do force some friendly fire damage on some of those mules or SCVs, pull some mining off. At the same time, though, on the other side of the map, the double drop getting some potential damage done here. With the auto turrets, it also makes things a little awkward, but he's going to have to lift up.
And Lifty will, going up into the main. Did Namshar think of this move? It's so far not yet. There's nothing coming, so just the Lings are going to be up here. But keep in mind, the Queens are actually awfully slow in between here, so by the time they get up there, a lot of damage is going to be done.
Auto turret's also doing a surprising amount of damage. He's focused very down each one of the Banelings. There's only one Baneling left. There's none left anymore. And now the Marines just go ham on the Queens that are on a slow movement forward. The Marines are getting pretty low on hit points, so the Lings may be enough, but even without the 1-1 upgrades, they just cannot clean up those Marines fast enough.
Devastating move, and this exposes the fourth base. The hatch was already low in health. I don't know that it'll go down. Well,
I think, yeah, this is a pretty good position as well. Auto turret adding into the fray to just take out as many of these Lings as possible, but it will survive for now, but for how much longer?
Exactly. For how much longer? We would need Tasteless to know. He, of course, has the answer for time-based questions, but here comes the next wave, and that's the real problem. Every time you see a Terran like drop do damage, and yes, it gets repelled, you have to keep in mind it's disposable. Terran players are completely okay with losing those forces as long as they trade them out. And he traded them out for a tremendous, tremendous sell. And then here comes this. Yep. And I think the Banelings are still slow. I believe they are.
Yeah, no, they did finish up Baneling speed now, so he has those. It's so funny because we just haven't seen many Banelings since those original Banelings got sniped off, but those go down as well pretty dang quickly. And now there are a couple of Hydras out trying to flank these Marines, but it's...
It's the medevac.
He is getting the medevacs, and these Marines are fairly low on hit points. The Siege Tank has to get picked up and run out of there, so a solid defense overall, all things considered, from Namshar.
With everything considered, Yes. The fourth base still not really saturated and low in health. Here's the next wave coming. Raven's even low in health here as well. He does save that second medevac that was getting very low in health. And now, one of the kind of checks against a really good Zerg is, did you keep making banelings? So far, he hasn't. And now he's going to start losing kind of the base of those queens. The tanks are showing up. There's the banelings, but they're not supported by lings, so they're kind of at the mercy of that moment right there. Despite speed and fighting on creep, they're not really hitting that big of shots.
Yeah, it's really, really small numbers of units kind of skirmishing here, but I think the Namshar is starting to take the edges here and there. Muscular Augment's going to finish up as well. And Namshar is finding ways to hold on, but like you said, now there's no banelings left.
Todd doesn't commentate one WCS Austin, and already you forget to look at the supply. Jeez. If Todd was here right now,
he'd be very disappointed.
He can kick 17 feet up in the air. You know that. You've seen his Instagram. He would wheelhouse you. Okay. Probably not, though. That would get him fired pretty quick.
Yeah, maybe.
It's hard to recover from that. We've seen people recover from stuff in esports, but kicking your co-commentator in the head would probably not be one of them, I think.
All right, the fourth base is going to go down, and that is a pretty brutal blow to Namshar's situation. Namshar has a counterattack force, but there's a Planetary Fortress over that fourth. The Lings do nothing. The Banelings do something, though. They kill off almost all the Marines. The problem is there's just nothing else left after that.
You're like the very supportive mother of StarCraft. You're like, they got some work done. Good for those guys.
I'm an optimist, Jeff.
HeroMarine is playing the trade-out game really well here. We've seen him take some damage. I think back to his series against Stefano as well, but he's just remained very good about extracting all the value that he can out of his attacks. And that was what was going on here. Earlier on, Namshar was doing really well, I thought. He was doing... he had a decent defense against those Hellions, but as Ruby pointed out, it got to a point where it was like, a couple of his queens got low in health, and all of a sudden HeroMarine was confident to dive in, and that's where the damage started to happen. So it was unfortunate. The wheels fell off that wagon pretty quick.
Yeah, once HeroMarine was able to get into kind of his groove, he sort of just started controlling the entire pace of the game, and Namshar almost started doing some good job with the engagements, but it's like a little bit too late at that point, right? It's like if he had had a solid earlier game and didn't take so much damage before, then yeah, those defenses maybe put Namshar ahead, but in that situation, just doesn't work out that way.
So a nice display by HeroMarine as well, by the way. We were reminded once again why he is considered one of the top players, because that was not an easy game. It's not like Namshar made some traumatic, huge mistake. It was just a little kind of surgical play from HeroMarine to kind of get those advantages and then capitalize on that. It's not a bad game, number one. Yeah. But we're just one game away from having, and you know, it's all been 2-0 today, so of course Namshar loses next one, right?
I mean, this is clearly just a repeat of WCS Austin, where there's the curse of whoever wins the first game wins the series. I'm hoping that doesn't end up being the case. At least we get a game 3, but... I
want someone to add up all the matches of Leipzig. Well, I guess we didn't have a challenger before Leipzig, though. But I'd wonder if this is the fastest WCS season we've ever had.
Ooh. So you want game timers or just games total?
Overall games total.
Overall games total. Man, that would be an interesting, I guess, endeavor to see what is the longest and the shortest, the closest and the most one-sided events.
Well, it's not fair though, because if you go back to Heart of the Swarm, right, like a best of 5 did take 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Whereas now we're approaching an hour and a half, and we're gonna have played an entire group.
I feel like formats also were different at different periods of time. So
sure.
Maybe just in like 2016 onward. I think 2016 is when we started doing 3 group stages at the WCS events into the playoffs.
I like how far we're taking this hypothetical, but no one's gonna do it, Ravi. I've got terrible news for you. No one's gonna add that up.
Well, you know, there is some good news, and that's that we are hopping into game 2.
That is good news.
Wow, we filled enough time.
More StarCraft.
All right, Catalyst is going to be map number 2. Currently we got, of course, one of these players leading on up and at match point, ready to move on to those playoffs. He's just got to win one more. His name down here in the bottom right is the red Terran player, is HeroMarine. And spawning up here in the top left, we have our blue Zerg player at the ripe old age of 25. It is Namshar.
Kind of a funny effect, by the way, that Cyril has on this WCS season, having won both Leipzig and now Austin, is the points become actually more important because that's how they're going to award the additional placements into BlizzCon, the WCS Championship. So you don't necessarily, I mean, it just kind of changed the dynamic a little bit. Yes, of course, winning one of the WCS stops, one of the 2 remaining, will get you to BlizzCon. It's an auto pass ticket-wise, but high placings become incredibly important because there's not actually that many ways to get these points anyway. So you start looking at people that are really, really good, but maybe they're not going to win a stop. And I'm not to get too far ahead of myself, but like Neeb, right? If Neeb has a couple more trip-ups in these WCS stops, he could just not go.
Yeah, it's actually kind of insane to think about. But I almost feel like it's all of them kind of, I don't want to say mid-tier, that maybe it's like a little bit higher than the mid-tier players that are all just saying like, Cyril, just keep winning, because I'm not going to win any of these WCS events. But you know what? If you keep winning all 4 of them, then it's actually even more spots given toward that BlizzCon, that WCS Global Finals for the points.
Then it comes down to the deep runs. So you think of like Special, who's had a semifinal curse, has been having a really tough time at that stage of the tournament. But if he can just do semifinals 4 times in a row, I bet you we see him at the WCS Championship. But I'm getting ahead of myself, and I know that the Blizzard overlords are like, no, talk about this tournament. And you're right, and I should, and here we are. Bread and butter opening from HeroMarine, and why not? In the 3 TVZs, we've seen him play not against Cyril. They've gone really well. And against Cyril, they went okay-ish, if you count doing okay, but still inevitably losing as okay.
Yeah, okay. Well, the Reaper in the
3
first...
TVZ games, by the way, to clarify. Not matches.
Okay. Reaper in the last game, I think, was able to do some little bits and pieces of damage, but this game, I want to remind you guys about how HeroMarine was able to really do a good job denying that 3rd for a while.
But also, look at the... Nope, never mind. I thought there was a lot of lings, but it's not.
Oh.
I thought we were going to see a difference from Namshar, but we do not. But no drone out there, and there's none hiding either, right? He's just saying, nope, I can't do it right now.
I mean, this is one of those times where do you even start thinking like, okay, are you all-inning me? Do I move over to your natural and then chance that the drone moves over right as I am trying to get some scouting information?
It's one of the hard questions of StarCraft, but I think the answer, especially at tournament level like this, is yes, you do go scout, and if the drone does sneak out and get that hatch down, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But how many times do we lose where you're just like, your tunnel vision on blocking something, I think I might have hit that. That's crazy. I think my belly typed that in. I'm not even kidding you.
Oh, you are in the game now.
Yeah.
Wow.
And now my stomach's in the game too.
All right.
It does capture that Reaper. But to finish my thought, just crazy stuff happens. Like 20 lings come out, and if had you seen it, you defend easily. If you don't see it, you lose. So you want to go with the more extreme result. Whereas if he gets the hatch down, that doesn't change things that much.
Yeah. And HeroMarine, I actually like this. HeroMarine still technically hasn't seen the 3rd, so he's just leaving some of those extra Hellions that rallied out at home in case there is that massive Ling swarm, and then gives Namshar a little bit more breathing space to get the creep tumors out. It's all those small little things that start adding up and allow you to claim small advantages.
It's fun looking at StarCraft for those nuances, though, right? It's very easy to just kind of look at it from afar and say it's a game of speed and macro and just the better, faster player wins. But there's all these like little things that go into what shapes what otherwise is kind of perceived as almost magic. So it's kind of fun. Even the little thing to point this out, like how far does the Overlord dive? Okay, it is actually going to turn back, and it's going to die either way. And it doesn't scout those buildings just slightly further over there.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you will see those buildings 3 or 4 pixels to the left of where they are, and then they would have been scouted.
And even though Namshar might just be expecting a similar opening to the previous game where there is that single Raven made, I think in the last game there were 2 Ravens made technically, but not being able to see it and confirm it 100%, not seeing that there is the tech lab on the barracks, researching STEM, I mean, these are all things that just give you a little bit of safety of mind.
Exactly. Okay, so these, and as Ravi pointed out, by the way, it was more like 8 Hellions last time, so it's kind of even funny that there's only the 4 here, because that 2 is sending information to our Zerg player. But he's going to keep fighting for this creep, and with the 2 queens, he should be able to do it. I'm really liking the Raven as a just constant ability to kill creep tumors without having to scan. And we saw this impacted in the TVZs earlier, too. If you're fighting Banelings, speed or not, off creep, very manageable. On creep, they're going to connect with speed, right? They're just absolutely going to connect. Maybe not all of them, maybe not super well, but they will. But if you can keep fighting back the creep, then that, of course, is diminished.
Yeah, and oftentimes the angle that you can try and deny some of that creep spread makes a huge deal in which angle the Zerg players are eventually going to have to defend from. So you see a lot of the creep tumors on the right-hand side as 3rd getting knocked out. That very well likely could end up being where HeroMarine says, yeah, I'm going to push in from that angle with all of my attacks.
And just to kind of massage the storyline of how good Cyril is. Again, by the way, one of the things that I love about him is that in moments like this, his lings are not sitting up at his third, or at least not all of them. There's a pocket of 6, probably more, scouting the third, poking and procking at the natural, and then you'll see things like this faster third CC. You'll see the double engineering bay. You'll know what you're facing. You can pick off that tank. Those kind of things, just the commitment to constantly being active with lings, is one of the things that I feel like separates him from everybody else. And by the way, what Namshar's doing is not unreasonable, because as we've been talking about, and Ravi pointed out, maybe there's a big attack coming and you want those lings back at home, but it's Cyril's ability to do both, scout and defend, that is just so amazing.
Okay, well, we are going to have a bunch of those Marines poking on forward. A Ling moves in, confirms the third base from HeroMarine. But he still needs to have enough units in position to defend. He finishes up his 6 Banelings, but Baneling speed is still going to be a long ways away, so that creep spread going to be important. The Hellions almost try to commit into that natural. They are going to get surrounded, though.
Yeah, they're super dead. But, you know, he's the time for them to be contributing in it.
Yeah.
I mean, they won position. Like, all the Lings went over there. So the fourth hatch
that was worth it.
Get denied. And yes, they died, but they did not die in vain. Some creep teamers went down, and now this base. HeroMarine playing the position game really well. Oh, off creep.
Ooh, Queen's gotta be careful. Transfuses do keep him alive, though, and I guess actually it kind of makes sense. You send the Queens forward to make sure that those medevacs can't just continuously pick up the Marines and be annoying. But yeah, HeroMarine is not only giving himself some nice positional advantages and being able to snipe off that base, but he's securing that third base back at home, getting up all the defenses he needs, and he moves back in. Oh my god. Okay, he goes up to the Queen, not the hatchery.
I thought it was going to actually... One of the kind of cool things about the auto turrets, not just the damage that they put out, but they actually tank, kind of funnily enough, right?
Yeah.
Like, the Lings try to get surface area around it, and the huge DPS of the Marines behind it kill them. But then if Banelings are killing a free auto turret, you don't care about that at all.
Okay.
Lings really finicky with this Raven, by the way. Go ahead and just drop it. Use it.
Yeah, he's very conservative with the energy on those Ravens. I wonder if there's like a specific moment that he's really worried he's going to need that... the Dorito cannon, as Nate calls it, or what. But the Lings have been doing a nice job so far up until now, dealing with the drops. But he's focused on the left-hand side, ends up forcing that to pick up, and none of the Marines actually end up going down. The Marines on the right kill off quite a few Lings.
Yeah, and now the creep teamers as well. That's the crazy thing about HeroMarine's play, and it really kind of exemplifies what's good about Terran in general. Is just like any one fight doesn't necessarily look like a huge, overwhelming win for the Terran. No, get out of here, Nate. Or not Nate, excuse me, Ravi. But it can win position, which for Terran can just be the entire game. If those 2 medevacs on the left side are able to get some real damage in at the cost of the right side doing nothing, it's a win. Who cares?
Okay, we got Lings, Hydras, and Banes sitting over here ready to deal with that drop on the right, but remember that behind all of this is a massive push that HeroMarine has been gradually building up. In the meanwhile, we have Namshar trying to get up that Hive Tech, getting up and finishing up his 2-2 upgrades right in time for this push, but the Hive Tech is not going to be quite as available.
Baneling's going down for free.
There's only one Baneling left on the map. There's one Baneling. There's 21 being made now, but oh boy, even on the top right, there's that drop. Moving back in, finding an opportunity to get something done.
Left side too. Gonna help you out, Mr. Observer Man.
Yep. Drop going into the main base, and this looks completely undefended. The drop on the right does finally get cleaned up after 5 workers go down, but the drop in the main, it's not going after any tech just yet, but he's sniping off quite a few Overlords. He's pulling the entire army out of position. And at the same time, HeroMarine is starting to make a push forward through the center of the map.
Yeah, and this is the big scary push. It's killing all the creep tumors there, and it's making its way towards the middle port, where if it can get anchored by the tanks, and the damage will be outrageous. But now the Ling is kind of swinging over here, which I think leaves the double medevac. No, okay, so good defense from Namshar so far, but can he keep it up?
Oh, Siege Tank's unsieging, and that's going to trigger Namshar to pounce, but then the anti-armor missile lands on the entire army and forces him back. And in the meanwhile, in the main base, the double drop still moving back forward.
Yep, and he's going to load up and...
Oh, okay, that's not the angle you want to move, so he does end up losing both of those. Namshar finally catches a bit of a break, but he still has to defend at the front, and this is where all of that creep spread has been cleaned up thanks to the multi-prong harassment of HeroMarine, while the 4th base has also been established in a planetary.
Yep, nice little move there from Namshar, but it's going to be about this fight right here. He's going to want to come in from multiple angles, but he's just kind of coming in straight down the middle. There's the Dorito cannon. Does get on top of the tanks. We're now off creep, though, so the Banelings losing out on their effectiveness. Can they make the connections? A couple try for it, but don't get there.
And all of the Lings, or almost all of the Lings, have been killed off. The Hydra's getting some decent trades versus the Bio as they move outside the range of those siege tanks. and Namshar is managing to defend that forward base for now. 3-3 on the way. Adrenal glands also coming on up. I don't know if we have any Vipers. No Vipers have been started up just yet. Namshar still looking for an opportunity to find a chance to actually make some of those maybe.
I do like that he's circling around looking for some different angles. Gonna kind of go back over here. And again, HeroMarine starts to work on these rocks. He really likes to fight in this middle ground, which does have kind of choked up angles. And here, as you've been pointing out, the creep spread has receded. So if he fights over here, it'll be mostly off creep. He's getting baited 4. A lot of banelings dying, taking some shots from the tanks. Ling's finding out it is a planetary at the 4th as well.
Yep, they're going over to the 3rd base, and I'm not sure the HeroMarine actually has that much to defend over there, so he's going to have to try and deal with that. Pulls the SCVs away. At the same time, the army pounces on HeroMarine's army. Siege Shanks getting collapsed upon. The Hydras remain alive, but more bio is starting to rally forward, and it looks like it's going to be a very, very close fight, but I think Namshar will clean up this army and secure his 4th base. At the same time, he did damage to the 3rd.
Yes, exactly. And a couple things are on display here that were really nice. Multiple attack angles, but also distracting HeroMarine with that Ling counterattack. Made a couple of mistakes, a little bit of late reaction on kiting back with the bio. And critically, Namshar was able to kill tanks there. If he kills bio, then that fight's really, really good for HeroMarine. But because he killed the tank count and got that down, the lethality, if you will, of HeroMarine, his ability to kind of end this game, is diminished. It's just bio forces, but now Vipers are coming out. The 3-3 upgrades are kicking in. So the tools accessed by Namshar are better. He's in his best position yet.
And now he can try and utilize these tools or maybe even get on his own offensive, as he's just been on the defensive this entire game outside of small little counterattacks. But HeroMarine trying to clean up some of this creep spread, and we see the massive Ling flood moving forward down along this left-hand side. At the same time, HeroMarine moves on the right. Hydras
could have got some of the medevacs. I don't think they got that many, but the force is so scary. And on the right side here, HeroMarine is going to try and do something, but it's a kind of a long push across creep. These Lings are about to really get juiced up here, by the way, as Adrenal does finish, I believe. Yep. As does the 3-3 upgrades. By the way, +3 armor never actually started up there for HeroMarine. Not sure if that's a mistake or not. Normally you do try and start them up in conjunction with each other. Yeah, maybe it was like a moment of the cost. He didn't have it, got fighting, kind of forgot about it. Well, Spire also being added on there for Namshar, so he's going to eventually be able to move on into Broodlords, but he's kind of taking this game slow and steady with his tech. He's got to be careful to push through the center at the same time that the left-hand hatchery is going to get sniped off. Good cancel there. Both are max. This will be a big, big fight. Namshar circling around, still trying to defend that middle base, setting a large arm to the left side over here. There's a drop over on the right with just 3 Marines and a Marauder that's doing quite a bit, I would say. A couple of drones being picked off. The medevacs on the main base are going to get picked off, and HeroMarine still having some trouble pushing forward through the center. Yeah, the Zerg has hit that stage where even the Lings are really scary, and with those 3-3 upgrades, as you pointed out, they are just darn good. This is going to be a massive collapse on this army. He's got an army situated on the right-hand side of the tanks. On the south side of the tanks, it's almost 270 degrees. Blinding clouds being thrown down, and Namshar is going to absolutely slaughter this army of HeroMarine. Fantastic fight here. It's just the medevacs look like they're going to escape, and even all of them, it's not guaranteed. They fall back. Supply hugely in favor of Namshar. We could have our first game 3 here, and he's going to actually feel confident enough to attack onto this planetary. There's so many banelings, there's nothing to really clean them up. The SCV's taking it, and so will the planetary as it dies. The 4th base is down. We're just down to the depleted bases, and that's it. HeroMarine taps out. Namshar strikes back. Yeah, and wow, tied up 1-1. Wow. Looking really good in the later stages of the game, even if he had a little bit, some iffy moments in the earlier stage. What? I've noticed a theme. I'm stuck on it now. You're like, really great late game, even if the rest of it was just okay. You're like, extreme opinion, pull it back. You've trained me well, Jeff, because I'm just anticipating you be like, is it though? Is that what it is? No. Fear of my is it though? No. I like it. This is actually the fear of Zombie Grub bullying me. She's out. You gonna change the narrative to that? Yeah. I'll tell you what, these women picking on commentators in esports, man. Oh boy. You know what I'm saying? Oh boy. We're going there. Get some eyes on StarCraft. The rest of esports doesn't have that problem, but in StarCraft, Zombie Grubs that got her steepled fingers at home, like, yes, Ruby. Dude, you're throwing me. I've called you Robbie for years, so now it's killing me that I've said your name wrong. I just let you say it. Well, it's just me and my pot just boiling because it's like, I was wrong. I'm just, You should have called me Goof or something like that so I could know your pain. Goof? Anything, yeah. I've been called all of them. Goof Robinson? You know, yes, exactly. The problem is,
I am so used to my name being mispronounced that at
been your
this
whole
point,
life, right?
if you told me that you've been saying Revy this whole time, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds right, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I can't know. Yours is much more extreme than mine, but same with me. I've been called G off my whole life and stuff like that. Does it ever bother you? It never bothered me.
No.
Not even a little bit. I don't.
The only one that bothers me is when I go to like Starbucks or something. I'm like, okay, Ravi, R-A-V-I, and they'll be like, Boben, B-O-B-E-N. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
You know, you think we're joking, but that actually does. I have seen
a photo.
that happen. I've seen it. I've seen someone murder Robinson, which is one of the most common last names in all of America. But
That's amazing.
someone's like, Robin, and it was at a baseball game. This is like years and years ago, and the whole audience was like, "What is happening? It's Robinson."
No, I get called Rabbi a lot as well. R-A-B-I. So I get kind of, I become
Then you can
I
guilt
become a
trip them
little more
about the racial
holy.
thing, yeah.
I become a little more holy every so often. Actually, my favorite example is that I went to a Starbucks. I got so fed up with this one day. I went to them and I said, okay, my name is Boong Boong. It's 2 B's on each one of those boongs. And they wrote it right. And I'm like, wow, you wrote that right, but you can't get a 4-letter name right.
It's tough. The name game is tough. We are waiting. HeroMarine is in game and ready to go. Namshar taking his sweet little time, but we do have a game 3 for you guys.
16-bit also.
Okay.
I actually really like this map. This map has been a lot of fun to see, and I think that I do like this map a little bit more for HeroMarine just because you have that in-base natural. It's become this weird game for Zerg players who are like, okay, I can either take the in-base natural as my natural, or I could just never take it. I could just leave it there until we're on 8 bases, and I finally say, oh, we're getting mined out. Let's take that natural now.
What's the map we blame for that had the lesser than pocket base? It was last map pool.
Blackpink? Blackpink.
So that's why.
Yeah.
No, you never take your in base as your natural. If anyone's doing that, they're a jobber. They are giving their ladder points to Roddy on the ladder. It's just a matter of time. But taking it later is kind of cool. That is interesting because the other bases that you take are the harder ones. So usually one of the big stress points for a Zerg on a good map is the 4th base. That's the harder base to take. But if your first 3 or 2 expansions, including your main, are outside of that, then the easiest base for you to take becomes your 4th base. So it's kind of cool because if you can secure that part of the mid game, then you've granted yourself an easier late game. And I understand that. If someone's taking their natural inside main as their first expansion, then that's hurting themselves really bad.
All right, well, let's hope that Jeff never tunes in for my stream. We're going to be starting down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. We have our red Terran player from Mouse Esports. It is HeroMarine.
Well, for Zerg, Revy, not for Protoss. Protoss, we take what we get, man.
I still hope that you never tune into my stream.
You make blank DTs, I'll tune in.
Well, that's fair. You're a man of DTs.
That's right.
Spawning up here in the top right, we have our blue Zerg player, able to take that last game with a late game play. It is Namshar.
And all of a sudden, that thing we were talking about, HeroMarine destroys Stefano. Game 1 destroys Namshar, but because of a dicey back and forth, no. No! You know what? Fun fact, and I have no problem plugging my bud here. Mr. Rotterdam. Guess who he slayed just before WCS Austin? Namshar.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, it was a ladder game, but for many who watched it, Namshar probably played it like it was the finals of a GSL, as far as I'm concerned.
All right. So a lot of the reason why, by the way, since we haven't actually addressed why we don't like seeing the in-base natural taken for Zerg players super early on, especially versus something like a Terran player, if you're planning to go to 3 bases, usually taking this base, you'll get your creep spread started earlier, but also this is just drop heaven for a Terran player.
You know, yes, but it's not that. To me, it's the creep like you said, but it's also every single Terran design right now is not to kill you at your natural. Like, how many times do we see that? That just almost never happens. So take your natural at the harder to get later, that is the more forward base. It's got good creep spread. Yes, it kind of progresses the game nicely, but no game design from Terran is to kill that. So I'm going to do that caster thing where I say I hate this, but maybe Namshar knows HeroMarine. Maybe he knows what can come here. If you're I was about to say if you're like a top-level Zerg player, but of course in the Twitch chat, that's everybody.
Yeah.
Their off-race is a top Zerg player. So correct me if I'm wrong. Tweet at me. Let me know. Tell me your thoughts. I can't read the chat, so if you're yelling it in there, I don't see it. But I like the discourse, and this is one of the beautiful things about StarCraft. I look at this and I go, that's just objectively a bad choice, but somebody could be like, actually, Jeff, it's a good one, and here's the reasons why. And don't be like, because I think you're dumb. That's not a reason.
As much as Twitch Chat sometimes believes
They'll
it
tell
is.
you it. It's just not real. Yeah.
But we do have HeroMarine just getting a pretty standard looking opening once again. It's going to be that Reactor Hellion play. He's got the single Marine out to try and snap off any Overlords. We noticed in the last game kind of small little patterns with Namshar trying to get that Overlord vision and try and scout things out properly. And I want to note that the starport is coming down next to that tech lab once again. This looks a lot like how HeroMarine has already been opening up. Could he mix it up? I actually would not hate for a player that's been opening up with those Ravens consistently. Just go for the Banshee in the third game. Mix it up and see, does Namshar cut the corner and not throw down the spores?
We won't though, Ravi. I'm telling you right now.
Probably not.
HeroMarine has done the same thing in every game, except I think the first one against Stefano, he didn't do the Hellion Raven thing. But he did do a Raven, if I remember correctly. It was just more Marine play. There's the swap. I would like to see a Banshee too, but it's going to be a Raven.
Cyclones.
Tech Lab Medevac?
Okay. So I have seen some really wonky pushes coming out from Terran players where they just try and go for this super oddly compositioned unit attack where they move over to the third and they just have this surprising composition of units that Zerg players are like, I don't have everything I need to deal with all of these units, and then they just kind of lose their third because they get caught by surprise. And the tech lab on the starport is kind of sealing the deal. But funny enough, the Marine pushes back that Overlord. Cyclones are going to be revealed, though. Is this enough for him to know?
Is it?
Yeah, I think it should be.
Okay.
He also sees the medevac as well, so.
So I guess it is fully revealed.
Yeah, it is.
That part of this is at least revealed. And it is cloaked behind that, so you got your wish, my friend. It's going to be a really weird late Banshee. I like this, though, because like I was saying, we've seen nothing different from him. So maybe Namshar, who certainly has watched the other TVZs with HeroMarine, is aware of the fact that we so far haven't seen Banshees. Does he does he not make Spore Crawlers as well, you think?
Well, he doesn't have any right now, and he might just be busy dealing with the big attack. That's one of the scary things. The Cyclones move over to the natural. They pull all the Lings over there. That's going to allow the Hellions to move forward, but no, all the Queens are there. So a really, really solid defense here from Namshar, who is also getting up the Baneling Nest behind this in case there is a kind of scary follow-up, but it doesn't seem like that's really going to be the case.
What do you see on that production tab? That
I see double armories, and I do not... Oh, okay, the third's done.
Not even that. I'm seeing no lair. I'm seeing no Spore Crawlers. And I'm seeing Banshees come. There's the lair. So just now started. So if he still doesn't make Spore Crawlers, you want to talk about damage? A Banshee is like a flying DT, my man.
Yeah, that is not exactly ideal to help deal with the Banshees, but he gets a really good cleanup over here. I don't think he really lost any workers, and he didn't get to a massive drone count, but...
Well, show us the units lost here.
All right.
You have the power.
18 Lings in exchange for 4 Hellions, 2 Cyclones, and a Medevac. I think Zerg players would take that trade.
Oh, yeah.
The real question is, like you said, though, is he going to be able to deal with the Banshee? Is it going to take too much damage from this to counteract the defense?
You gotta commit to this.
It's just
kind of flew past there. There we go. And now the hardest part about this for HeroMarine is going to be controlling this while doing stuff at home.
Cleaning up some of the Hellions at the same time. The drones are getting picked off. He's buying time for the Spore Crawler. He's going to lose 4 drones, maybe. I feel like maybe 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Is that too much damage? Is that enough damage? Is that not enough damage for HeroMarine?
It's okay. I mean, the kind of funny thing about this is that, yeah, the lair is late, right? So, but because of how efficiently he cleaned up all the other harass and didn't lose anything there, the late lair ends up being a boon for him because he's been droning up. So he has not lost the worker lead at all. He still maintains that. His army is nothing threatening at all, but the other players are going mech, so you can't really threaten them anyways. There's tanks and stuff back at home that even if you did try to poke and prod, you couldn't do anything.
Yeah, we already see a Roach Warren and an Infestation Pit and Hydra Den coming down with
this is a weird attack to me.
I can see this being pretty effective if you have it joined forces with some more units, but I think after losing everything,
like earlier, the thing that killed the Cyclone was the 7 queens that showed up. So this attack is basically like, yeah, but what if those queens are not here?
I mean, what I mean to say is, like, I think I like that attack if he does things like he keeps the earlier medevac alive, or maybe he keeps some of the cyclones alive from the early attack. He doesn't lose everything there. Then I like an attack like that, because then you say, oh, okay, well, maybe then the medevac's healing up the Hellbats. The cyclones are actually getting some, like, putting some real pressure on that hatchery. But
Sure.
yeah, in that situation, it really doesn't work out very well.
I mean, the good thing is he didn't commit too much, so he lost a Banshee, which, a little bit like the Reaper, its role is really just to keep harassing, so if you lose one, sure, it happens.
Has Namshar seen that it's mech? Because he did see the second fight. I was going to say, because he got up the Roach Warren and was investing into Roach Hydra, which is traditionally how a lot of Zerg players like to react to the mech play. So, seems like that's kind of the reactionary thing after scouting it.
Yeah.
HeroMarine going into the main base with a double medevac drop at the same time that the Hellions are poking around the map, but the Queens are so far forward.
Double medevac drop. I like that. I think that I would more describe it as double Thor drop myself.
Oh, okay.
I feel like that's the scary part of this. And they're going to show up. He's not really being super active with them. He's got to be careful that there are queens out there.
I love that moment where Thors are like, I can kill this hatchery.
Yeah.
And then they start doing it, and you're like, the Zerg player is like, no, it has a lot of health. And then it suddenly just starts going down really fast.
Well, to your point, though, he was indecisive, right? So he didn't kill a huge number of anything there.
Yeah.
It was a good drop, but it killed the spine crawler and started to do damage, but that's it. Showed that it's mech, if there was any question about that at all, which I'm sure there wasn't, but also Thor's. And again, we've talked about Namshar as repelling defenses.
Oh!
Jeez Louise.
Losing a Thor to medevac, that's brutal. Those medevacs, or sorry, those Thors are...
I'm very fixated on this.
Those medevacs, no, the Thors are really
you have
important.
to do a triple medevac drop later if you lose medevacs, you know? But look at this, all of it getting pushed back. So if you look at the line by line, it's not the scariest just yet, but it's getting there. If Namshar can keep just taking no damage and get some Vipers out, it could be a threat.
And I think that's the scary thing, right, is that he is already getting out a decent number of those Vipers, and he is kind of now at that position where finally he has enough units. I think he can start to look to be aggressive pretty shortly, and maybe even look to try and delay that fourth, or at least deny some mining from it if he's able to move forward. But okay, HeroMarine's going to be the one that moves out first? No, okay.
He might. Now, to your point, it's just the 5th base going down for Namshar behind this. So he's been a little bit late. I mean, one of the things you're supposed to kind of accomplish with all that defense of the harass is a big economy, but our Terran player is securing a 4th without anyone contesting it. And just now the Zerg's establishing a 5th, so both players are maxing and banking. It's actually not bad for HeroMarine despite getting turned back in every way before this.
All right, and I like the gradual siege up of these siege tanks, just sieging up 2 at a time, cleaning up creep, moving forward with the Hellbats. The Vikings also pushing back any of those Overlords and Overseers. And now we get into a situation where Namshar has to make this work, but here we go. We're coming in for a big collapse on the right-hand side, and it looks like the Hellbats are actually killing off a bunch of the Queens on the north, so they're not defending the tanks.
Yeah, he just got bloodlusted there, and he's going to lose all of the tanks, which means the Hellbats don't really function in this fight anymore, right? They're supposed to buffer for the tanks.
Oh, they're not even killing drones. They're going after a Spore Crawler and a Spine Crawler.
Ravi, they'll get to it, man. Give him some time here, but the big story is the huge turnaround. Those tanks are supposed to have several volleys. You did a good job spacing them, but even then, you know, you can space them as much as you like, but if there's just roaches and hydras fighting your tanks, you're dead.
Spire coming up. Namshar feeling really good after that last cleanup, as he feels like he has a bunch of time now. He can get on the offensive. Has to be careful not to bleed out too many units as he tries to get up to that Broodlord tech. But if he can just even buy a little bit of time and make HeroMarine feel a bit uncomfortable, or just kill if he just kills a Planetary Fortress, that'd also be nice. But is he going to be overcommitting over here? He does get it. He might lose a handful of units over here, but the siege tanks are so slow to siege up.
No, I think this is a fantastic fight for him. He's able to get the planetary and then actually trade out some pretty decent forces here as well. So already, you know, HeroMarine was lacking in units and maybe wanted to go on the offensive to try and strike back, but because he lost units here defending and he lost the expansion, it's going to be tough to see that happening. So it's just going to be counterattack for days and then all of a sudden Broodlords.
Yeah, it's kind of misleading if you look at the supply. They look not that far off from each other, but it is, like you said, about the fact that Namshar can now get up those Broodlords, and HeroMarine's ability to be aggressive has just been completely destroyed right now, especially after losing even more of those Hellions.
Story of the day. To kind of dial it back, by the way, to that huge fight with the tanks and Hellbats, it was actually 2-2 mech versus 1-1 Zerg, which is a 2 upgrade advantage for the Terran player, and insane with mech. And still, Namshar was able to take such a good fight that he overcame it all in huge numbers.
Yeah, and now not only has he actually been able to push back a lot of the attacks, but even you see these Hellion run-bys, they're getting shut down so quickly because the creep spread has been able to blow up like mad. And now, how do you ever actually get any kind of realistic move out unless you had those medevacs, Jeff? That
the medevac drops.
Yeah, the medevac drops. That's what it all comes back down to.
You're exactly right. I think the 2 that were picked off earlier could be the difference in this game. Well, 1 was carrying a Thor, so it might have actually.
Yeah, that actually would have helped quite a bit, but. Yeah. All right, here we go. Round 2, HeroMarine nearly maxed out. He's going to catch a lot of these Hydras, Blue Flame Hellions, chasing them down. There is a potential for a 2-prong attack here. And the Hydras, they're just going to go for the run-by into the natural.
Love it. It's really hard to move mech armies around. That's one of your biggest advantages. The Greater Spire is not finished yet, so if he can win some time for himself, then that would be a huge victory. It does get a nice swath of units there, and here's the chase. But still not sieging yet. Okay, he is sieging under those Blighting Clouds now, but there's a huge battery of tanks in the back that are still left to fire. Is it going to be enough? He lands the Vikings, and I would say the answer is yes. Namshar still does have a big supply advantage, but that was kind of the big push, right? Like, he lost the Vipers. If HeroMarine was going to get something done, it's got to be right now.
This is the moment, and we have 4 more Vipers coming up. But remember, those Vipers do not start off with enough energy to actually throw down more Blinding Clouds. The Siege Tanks all still alive. They're pushing forward. The Hydra's coming out in large numbers, and that is exactly what Namshar is relying on. 1 Roach on the high ground just eventually get picked off as it spawns out the entire size of the army.
You can't fight this. There's no way. I mean, Namshar's circling around like he wants to take a fight here without the Vipers. The tanks would flatten him. This would not be pretty. Everyone... He might do it. You're gonna have to look away.
Do you think you just give up a base and try and get up the Broodlords?
And counterattack, and then Broodlords show up something. Fighting here is not an option as far as I'm concerned.
He's getting ready to move in from 3 different angles. He has some position of the north, the right-hand side, as well as that south. But no, he's
gonna do it.
Okay, he's waiting for the Vipers. He's waiting for the moment the Vipers can move forward.
Oh my God!
That Siege Tank spread is so good, though.
It's a very spread out. He's like, here you go. This is the best I can do, boys. Good luck. And here comes the 360 MLG no-scope degree attack here from the Zerg, but it's done before.
I think it's starting to work. Maybe? No.
Ruby!
No.
I just want to listen to you commentate, man. I think it's no! No, it's not!
Oh, boy, that... You know, for a moment I thought, you Siege Tanks are all about the splash damage, and this army's really well spread out.
Did he lose the Vipers again? Did those 3 Vikings
He
do it?
did indeed lose all the Vipers. He has 17 more Hydras coming out. He hasn't given up any of the bases just yet, and the Siege Tanks are not really buffered by too much anymore. So there's maybe still some salvaging hope here.
This would be it. If there is a hope, this is it. But tanks are so good, man. They do so much damage.
Thor buffering so much of the damage of the Hydras, but the Vikings are getting taken out. The Hydras and the Roaches are remaining, and they're all spread out really well. I think he's actually gonna start to push this back.
Is he gonna start to?
Is he? Yeah, he's pushing this back, Jeff.
Yeah, he is.
There we go.
Officially pushed back.
Well done.
Your offensive stops here, sir. Got that tank too.
And remember, there is the Greater Spire finished up behind this for Namshar, and the Vikings that all just landed and got picked off, except for these 2.
No bank though, brother. I'm going to stop you before that train gets too hyped up here. It's both players are in scrap mode. I think the dangerous thing here for HeroMarine is he did not take a 5th behind this, and with mech, when you kind of lose that army, all of a sudden you're on like 5 tanks trying to defend between 5 bases. It gets really dicey in that situation. So Namshar, I think, should be in a great position.
Huge transition out into Cyclones, almost exclusively. Well, not exclusively, but
where are they all going?
Pretty heavily.
Oh, he's floating.
Oh, he's floating his main orbital over?
Yeah.
No, that's his natural. His natural's going over to this. Not a bad idea, this situation. Roach does move forward and scouts this out, which is...
Look at how hard the Cyclones are having to work to kill that single Roach.
Those upgrades, man.
They're all at 3-3. So now all of a sudden, I gotta say Namshar positionally has the advantage. Can he finish it though? Can he? He's got the 5 bases going on 6.
He's sticking around on just Roach Hydra, and he does still have a couple of those Vipers. To your point, he was not exactly building up a massive bank or anything, but he has so many bases to mine with.
80 drones now too. Actually, both players have a lot of workers.
Yeah, I wonder, I guess it kind of makes sense that you just want to trade out some of your units and then kind of get up that bank to start making some of those Brewlers. Pulling a bunch of the Cyclones forward instead of using the Blinding Clouds.
Yeah, not today.
Not working out quite as well as I think he would have liked. And now the Vipers are starting to go down to the Vikings. This is not really working out. Namshar wanted it to.
I really like the way HeroMarine's playing this. Unfortunately, Namshar is playing into it a little bit. Like, he's not threatening a counterattack. Look at the natural for our Terran player.
Very barren.
Nothing. And even over into the third, that's a planetary, so maybe you don't fight that. But counterattacks is how you would win this. But because they were both kind of put in a scrappy mode, and look at HeroMarine even has an SCV to spot for this, so very well played there. The 5th base can be allowed for HeroMarine. If a 6th base is taken, Namshar dies. So that's the name of the game here for Namshar.
Well, this is exactly what we were talking about, Jeff. To go in for a bit of a counter attack on the left-hand side while he tries to draw you inside of position. He does so successfully. Yeah. Picks off these siege tanks, starts pulling them. HeroMarine tries to react to the attack on the right, but is it going to be enough? The siege tanks are doing so much damage, though.
The thing is, though, he shows up, kills the tanks, and then look at this position that's won. SCV's going down. He can kill the orbital. And this scrappy game just got scrappier, but it's hugely in favor of Namshar. 100 supply up. He's going to actually jump on top of that tank as well. And now, HeroMarine's got to defend in 2 places. And there's not that much over here, but the defense have been broken, right? The wall's down, the floodgates are open, and now this can jump on reinforcements if they choose to.
And that's it. GG. Namshar is going to knock out HeroMarine from WCS Challenger and move on to the playoffs.
And that is that big result we were talking about. A nice series. It went to game 3. HeroMarine being the favorite, not in a Cyril kind of level, but certainly he's one of the big players right now in the European scene. And Namshar went the distance, made great decisions. This game had brilliant defense, and then also made the right choices when the game got scrappy. So really well done by him.
Making me a proud mother, as Jeff said at the beginning of the series. But that does conclude Group A for Europe. Now, of course, we do still have North America coming on up. But if we actually, I think, take a look at those groups and kind of what has played out today, we did see, again, like Jeff said, the domination roll from Cyril, those 2-0s, pretty much majority of the day. But that last series, really looking close. And I really did think that HeroMarine's Stevie Z was looking really strong after that second game versus Cyril.
Well, what I enjoy about this series, too, is we don't look at this series and say, wow, HeroMarine really choked and failed terribly. I feel like it's more that Namshar excelled and played above and beyond and played really well and was able to defeat HeroMarine. That's the kind of series you want. Like, obviously, the result of HeroMarine losing is unfortunate. I guarantee we'll see him in that open bracket with the way he's playing right now. But for someone to just rise up and play really well and get the result, that's kind of cool. So we'll see him in the playoffs. Another 2 Zergs make it out of this group. You know, good for them.
Yeah.
The Zerg players.
Europe does love its Zerg players, but I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how things are going to go. North America is still coming up next, and I really want to see how things are going to go with that. As we also take a look at the groups, if you guys are more interested in more of the European groups, those are going to be happening tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and the day after that. That's Group B, C, and D. Oh, sorry, there's a 1 day gap. There's a 1 day gap.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything on Friday.
It is actually just the schedule they had on screen. That's the best way to do it.
That was actually a better way to describe it, Jeff. Thank you.
And now we just laugh. That's me laughing, by the way, at myself, to the fans. It's Zombie Grub that bullies him, not me. I'm here laughing with Ravi.
Exactly. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, North America is going to be starting on up next. I mentioned that before. We got a really, really fun group. We got Masa, we got No Regret, we got Kane, we got Zeal. Really, really wide range of all-inning players. I'm looking forward to this. And then we have Kane, who's... If you've been watching his stream, he has been going for like 80-minute games. He's been having some fun.
Well, he's an old school StarCraft 2 pro. We had him back in the day as one of the strongest Zergs. He kind of went to school, obviously, and took some time off. And he was in Challenger last season, but he ran into a hard ZVZ group. So it's going to be kind of fun to see him against these guys.
Yeah, I was talking to him a little bit about that, but we'll talk about that in the bit of the future as we go to a short break before we bring you WCS North American Challenger. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a bit.
This poor town